What's going on? Where do you live? Where are you from?
Where do I live? I live in the Ware, G-Town. It sounds much better than saying Delaware, Georgetown.
The
Um,
where?
yeah, most of the time we call it the Ware because no one knows where it is. When I say Delaware, people ask me if I mean Ohio. I'm like, no. But I'm originally from New York City. I got stuck here in a snowstorm and never left.
No way. That's so
Yes,
weird.
ma'am. Right? I'm a weird person.
That's so crazy. Okay, cool. I'm in Illinois, so
Oh,
I'm
nice.
in the Noi. Yeah, that's what we call it
Yeah.
here is the Noi. No, we really don't, but
Oh, I actually, AJ Vassar, like one of our partners with Unleashu Now, he's from Illinois. And I was like, oh my God, do you call it the noise? And he was like, no, that's not how you say it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like I offended you.
there's no noise in Illinois. Yeah, we're kind of passionate about that.
I could tell. His face changed and everything.
Yeah, people get really angry about it. It's pretty funny. That's awesome. Okay, so you're in the where, and tell me about. We'll just get into this right now. Tell me about Unleashu Now. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
Unleashu Now. Tell me what that's all about.
So I don't care what you call it. You can call it God, universe, cosmic winds, trees, dirt, like whatever you call the thing that we believe. I don't believe they sat up there and was like, hey, you're going to have a good life. Enjoy it. Next, you, shitty life. Sorry, can't help it. Go ahead. Right? Like, I don't think that's how it works. That'd be an awful system.
That would be
Right? So,
terrible.
yeah, I don't think that's like some lucky lotto, like, dude, great life. You, shitty. Right? So with us, it's like, unleash you now. So it's unleash your inner greatness, right? We all have a masterpiece. Now, how you create that masterpiece is up to you and your gifts that you were given. Now, no, your gifts are meant to be given. That's why they're called gifts, right? But so to me, I can't paint worth shit. You give me a canvas and paintbrushes and some paint, and it's gonna be miserable what you find. All right, you're gonna be like, yo, this is horrible. Like, what are you for? And I'll be like, kind of in this world,
You
right?
got no Bob Ross happy trees. They're
No,
sad, pathetic
no.
trees. Like
Listen, I was so bad. I went to a paint night with friends, and the guy that ran the paint night asked if I would not be in the picture with my picture, in the picture with my
with your
picture,
painting.
because it was so bad that he was like, it might hurt business.
Oh my gosh, that's
And I
terrible.
wasn't even offended. I was just like, dude, that's completely real. Like, I love your honesty. Like, keep me out of the picture. And he was like, dude, you can stand in and just don't have a picture. I'm like, I'm gonna be the weird guy standing at the end with no picture.
With no
Like, am I
picture.
gonna hold someone else's?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Did you toss that thing
so
like in the dumpster on the way out to the car? You're like,
nah, I got that thing framed at my house.
oh,
So
God.
I was like, it's out of my comfort zone. I know I'm not good at that thing. So I'm like, this is my masterpiece. And I saw some dude bought like a red square with a thinner red line in the middle of it for like $86 million. So I'm like, dude, some guy might come in and be like, shit, I love this. I'll give you $100 for it. And I'll be like, let's
Yeah,
go.
the $100.
And then
Awesome.
I'll reach out to that guy that ran that paint and be like, who else sold their shit? Nobody. You're welcome.
That's right.
But sorry, I can get off topic quick.
That's
But
fine.
so we all have greatness within us. The problem is that we let like cultural, right, society, family traditions, what we believe, our limited beliefs, we let that hold us back and keep us in this form that we think other people want us in, or that we should be in, or that's what we're supposed to do rather than that's what we're meant to do, right? And what that does is that keeps us from letting people show our greatness and our masterpiece. And what that does is keep us from moving the flag further for the next generation. Like my daughter's 17. That's my it. Like that's my why. Right? Like that's what I push forward to. So if I'm not making it better for her and her people to lead a better life and to run a better place, I need to do my part. So I have to take off all that bullshit that we're taught and that we're programmed to think this is what we're supposed to do, right? Like you're supposed to work 9 to 5, barely make it ends meet, pay your mortgage, have a white fence so you can say you have a white fence. And then at the end, be like, hey, now it's your turn. Good luck, right? And I don't think I'm supposed to give you 40 years to hopefully get 10. All right. So it's unleashing your inner greatness, paint your masterpiece. I don't care if you're a street sweeper, like you're painting a picture for my kid to play safe and for us to walk down the street and be okay. Like that's your masterpiece. Paint that shit, act like it's your masterpiece. Let's live that life. Now, because what was that tree quote? It's like 20 years ago was the best time to plant a tree and the second best time is now. All right. So 20 years ago was the best time to unleash your inner greatness. Second best time is now. So let's unleash you now. Like my whole thing is I want everybody to live their best life as the best version of themselves. That's
I
why it's
love that.
unleashing you.
I
And I
love
didn't want
that.
it named after me.
And what? You didn't want to
I
name
didn't
that?
want it named after me. Everybody, like, you ever know, like, John Maxwell team, Tony Robbins team, Eric Thomas team. And I'm like, Jesus, what happens if something happens to one of them? Right? Then
Yeah,
it's,
that's a good
right?
point. That's
blank
true.
blank team, right? So and to me the cause is above us all, and I lived a wild life, so I know anything can happen to me at any moment. So I didn't want it to be after me because I don't want it to stop with me. This is my dream is to end suicide, and I say it's my dream because I pay homage to Martin Luther King Jr. and it means it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but I have to do my part for it to be able to happen sooner rather than later.
You brought up so many questions for me just listening to you talk
You're
through
welcome.
all of that. So it's like, where do I start? So many questions about you and, what has brought you to this place in life where this is your dream and this is your passion. I'm sure that your upbringing, your experiences in life, something has got to have brought you to this place. So dying to hear a little bit more about you and how you got here.
No, I grew up as a chess player and just played chess. No, I'm kidding. Wouldn't that be horrible? Like, yeah, no, everybody unleash yourself. What'd you do? I played chess my whole life. I didn't really
Just
do
my
anything.
whole life. Yeah.
I do love chess. Don't get me wrong. I'm a marathon thinker, and chess is a marathon thinking game.
Nice.
Which is weird because when I was growing up, I did not play chess, didn't know anything about it, and thought it was like the worst game on earth. But
Right.
now
Okay.
life changed. But other than chess, what do? So what got me here? Ah, man, how much time we got? All right. I don't
Whatever
know.
we need.
All right. I was gonna say I don't know what kind of Cliff Note version you want because every show is different. But if we're going longevity, right? We're gonna do the long game on this one. I
Sure.
was born deaf. All right. And everybody's like, yeah, right. I was like, that's weird. I don't know why you ever say that. And this is why. I was born deaf. I didn't learn how to talk until I was 3 years old. All right. Because I didn't get my hearing until I was 3 years old. I was born in Massapequa, New York, and we moved to Queens, New York, which I know it's like New York City. So what? But in New York City, when you move like that, you have to find different doctors, different schools, because everything's, even though it's not far, far away, it's so far away and traffic is crazy. So it's like, go to the same doctor. It's like 3 hour ride, right? Like, I don't know about your mom or dad, my dad, mom, we're not doing that.
No
Right.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So they're like, yeah, there's a doctor down the street. We'll go down the street. So they went to this new doctor and he was like, hey, I don't think your son needs to be deaf. Right. Like his ears can now collapse because of infection. But if we can put some tubes in and put him on antibiotics for a year, it might work. And it worked. Bingo. I got hearing. Amazing. Right. I'm like, oh my God. But I didn't know anything what the hearing was. Right. So 3 years old, I learned how to hear, but I don't learn how to talk until 3, 4 years old. But my family's like hardcore military. Right. So it's like, no excuses. You're going to school at 5. Right. And everybody at 5 is like, oh my God, it's so great recess. And I'm like, hey, like, everybody's like, holy shit, what's wrong with this kid? Right. So like, right. So from then I'm like, I'm the guy that there was a lot of jokes, right? I failed 3rd grade. Like, I don't know. I used to think that was like, you couldn't do that, but I failed 3rd grade. 5th grade, I was walking back to 3rd grade for reading classes and English classes. Needless to say, I was made fun of a lot. Right. I was the guy that was the dumb kid, right? The stupid kid. And also then what I told myself in my head was even worse. Right. Like there was like death assignment when people were like, go around the room and read your section. Like, oh shit. Right. Like I literally would start fights just to get out of the class. Like I would just get up and hit somebody. How weird is that? Right. Like I was just like, what a horrible way to learn to deal with trauma and think thoughts. But so this goes to the point of this. My brother is one of the 22 here a day that took his own life when he's after serving the country. So he did that when I was in 3rd grade. So all these things are happening at the same time. And hardcore military, we're not hurt. We're mad. Right? And how do you deal with mad? Because that's more manly. I'm mad. I'm not fucking hurt. Don't talk to me about being hurt. I'm not. I'm mad. And we deal with that with anger. Right? So I couldn't express the things I was feeling, but I still need to be felt. So how do you do that? I made people feel my pain. Right? And that stayed that way. So middle school, we had a high school mentor. Mine got cancer and passed away. In high school, I dared one of my buddies to steal a car because he'd be made because I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I'll say a little bit because I feel like we shouldn't get into all the trouble I did. But I dared him to take a car. He steals a car and dies in the accident that he stole the car in. Right? So you add guilt and pain on top of this, on top of it. I'm holding this thing down inside me. I'm not letting anyone see it, but I'm getting in fights. I'm going to juvie. I'm going to jail. I'm going to court. Right. And
That's a lot of that, that's a lot of loss actually for someone that age to have experienced. Like
100%.
for me, that's really unusual. You don't hear about that magnitude of loss and people that are close to you tragically, like tragic loss too.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned three different big time losses in your life at a young age. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh wait, we're just tip of the iceberg of
Yeah.
Lost. We should name the show Lost, because I know
Let's
not like the show Lost, but
Lost.
Lost.
Yeah.
Right, because no one likes the ending of that thing.
No.
But they left too many holes open.
Exactly.
You know how to do an ending. Thank you. My father dies when I'm a teenager.
Oh my God.
So my dad was an old man when he had me started, but my ancestors are Italian, right? My heritage, but I have like red hair, like a red beard. I don't know if you can tell. It's pretty long. Thank you. I have probably the longest beard you interviewed.
Yes, you do win the longest beard award.
I'm gonna have something on every interview.
Yes, and the most ginger Italian I've ever interviewed, for sure.
Thank you. You know why? It's because my dad was an old man when he had me. He was like 43 years old, and he had rusty pipes. You're welcome. I was a horrible stand-up for like 2 years, and that was my best joke.
Oh my God. Did you save that one for the end every time?
Nope, right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Everybody's like, I'm like, camera guy, record the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's all we need. Boom.
Because it's going down from here.
Yeah. I'd hit him with that joke and be like, thank you, I'm out. Right? Like, it was like one joke. No.
Oh.
But so again, my father dies. Stick it down deep inside me. But I'm 20 years old. This is a couple years after my dad died. I'm 20 years old, and I found out I'm having a daughter. All right. And I'm in the middle of like not a good life, right? Like, had a heart attack at 18, minor heart attack because of drug use, right? Because I was heavy into different types of drugs at that point. We'll turn to different types of drugs later on in the story. But I'm involved with a lot of crime. So the same week I find out I'm having a daughter, I get shot at because there was a hit out on me. Because earlier, one of our guys shot someone 9 times. They lived. I like that. I was like, don't worry, they lived. Like, that was a winning thing. I shot him like 8 times in the leg, like 1 time in the shoulder. I was like, dude, your accuracy sucks, but your precision's on point. Right? Like, you're really going to hurt somebody, but you're not going to kill them. So that's
not going to kill them, but
all right. So that's good. They lived. So the retaliation was they took a hit out on me and his brother. So a 15-year-old takes the hit out on me.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So this kid jumps out of a car. I'm like, oh my God. Right. Like, and he shoots, and we're literally 6-7 feet apart from each other at the Diamond Club in like outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania. And it was like that moment. After that night, I survived. I didn't get hit. And I'm just like, wow. Right. Like, and I start thinking about the loss I have. And I'm like, I don't want my daughter to grow up without a dad. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be dead or in jail and have her have to grow up that way and not understanding things that happened before her. So I decide I'm done, right? Like, I'm out. And I'm a big kind of believer in people, places, and things, even though I think there are excuses that make it easier to adjust and change, right? So I'm like, I'm going to move, because in this area, I'm always going to be this guy. I don't want to be this guy anymore. So I'm like, I'm going to move, and I'm going to move. I originally was going to meet my brother, well, different places, but then it was going to be Maryland. We were going to move to Maryland, open a bar and grill, be cool. On my way to Maryland, I got stuck in a snowstorm in Delaware. And because Delaware, if there's a flake, it's like a state of emergency, right? They pull you over. So I get pulled over by the police. They say I have to go stay in a hotel. You go stay in a hotel. I fall in love with the area, right? Because listen, to get in trouble in Delaware, like, you really got to do something, right? Like, so I was like, all right, I stayed free most of the time in PA, New York. I can handle this place. And since I've been in Delaware, no trouble. Peace, love, and happiness. Anyway, nice. Because you really got to be a silly kind of criminal to be in trouble in Delaware, right? So I make it like, listen, if you're a good criminal, Delaware's for you. No.
Yeah, it's a great advertisement for the state.
You're welcome. Great taxes and hard to get in trouble. So so I get stuck in Delaware, and I end up staying here. I open a bar and grill here, right? And for like 10 years-ish, 8 years, I become the business guy. And this is the story. So every fragment of your life has a phase, and it's a phase of you and your movie. So for the first 20 years, I was the villain of my story. All right, first 20, 21 years. I was the villain. I was the bad guy in my own story. I was the bad guy to me. All right, like, I was hurting my life. The second part of my life, you think that's the worst part. This part is more irritating to me, because I was the damsel in distress. I was looking for someone to save me. I built my entire life on bullshit. I had a really nice bank account. right? I had the big house. It was really cool, right? Like 4,000 plus square foot for me and my daughter. Like, why? Who knows? Right? I had rooms we never used. Like, they were literally just empty rooms. Why would you have an empty room in your house? Right? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. Right? I had to, this is where we get to make fun of me. I had a Cadillac Escalade. I had all tinted out, right? I called it Kane because clearly you're not a criminal when you do that. And I had 6 12-inch subwoofers in the back, so it was really uncomfortable to ride because it was very loud. And I had the spinners where, like, if I stopped, they spun, right? Yeah, oh, don't worry, it gets worse.
Guy.
Yeah, don't worry, it gets worse. I wore velour Converse suits every day. I had 12 of them, or 10 of them. And no longer, I had a velour, the logo was my undershirt color. I had matching Timberlands for every outfit. And I mean, identical to the color, and a matching Kango hat for every outfit. And I just went through one. And here's where I think I go, man, I had such bad friends. Not a single person told me I was the most ridiculous looking person on earth.
No one did.
Right? Not a single person. I was just like, man, I look back now.
Were
I'm
they
like,
that
I hide
way
all the
too,
pictures.
though? Were your friends
No.
that way too? Oh, okay.
Nope. Just me.
That's
I was always just me.
It's a unique style.
Thank you, right?
Your style now. I don't know, like it just, yeah.
That was the nicest way anybody's ever said that to me. You're good at this, clearly.
Yeah. I try to be non-offensive. No. So
We're very different, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like the epitome of fake. Right. So I'm so fake. I'm in my yard hitting fake golf balls one day. Right. And right.
Like to impress people? Like, is it kind of a like a ploy to impress people or to inflate yourself?
I think it was a couple of things. I think one, mentally, I was always the person that was behind, but I wasn't behind anymore. Right. Like, I was ahead of people my age.
And you wanted everybody to know it?
Right. I wanted to know it. Right. So I had the Rolex. Why? No one gives a damn if I have a Rolex. I had the Rolex because I needed that. Because then look at me. Right. Now I don't even wear a watch because I say I'm timeless.
Nice.
Or it's on my phone.
Is that why you're 2 minutes late to the
Right. I'm always fashionably late. Okay. Right. Like, I'm a high commodity.
Yes. Sorry. I didn't realize that about you.
I was eating Oreos before I got on, and I had to get the chocolate off my lips. So I was like, ah.
There's the truth now.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome. So you were all of this wealth and this success was from you started a bar and restaurant, or you owned one or
We opened a bar and restaurant. I had a landscape company, a property management company. Okay. I was also, my studies. I'm a even though I was an athlete and a weirdo, I love learning.
Okay.
Right? And which is weird for someone that had a hard time in school, but I don't love learning the way school teaches. I just love learning things that I'm passionate about and the way I like to digest it. So I'm big into like neuroscience and human behavior. So at times too, like this, I would work for the state in the prison systems for mental health. So
awesome.
It was between that and having businesses and having investment companies and doing things of that nature. I was good at making money. I'm not good at saving money. Like, you ever want to talk to someone about saving money, I'll tell you about people. But like making money, I can do. Saving money, like, stay away from me. Like, no, don't do it. I've lost 6 figures in literally moments. So it's always great when I speak at business conferences, because they're like, everybody gets up there and like kind of toots their own horn, right? Like, well, I've had Fortune 500 companies, and right, and I get up there and I'm like, dude, I lost 6 figures once in an hour. Right. One time I signed my name and I lost 6 figures. It was amazing. Right. And everybody's in the crowd like, I'm like, but I'm still here. So maybe I can teach you how to make something, I guess.
There you go.
Right. So I'm hitting fake golf balls. I have all this bullshit that means nothing other than to my thoughts. And one of my best friends called me, Matt Carter. He's like, Mike, I had a fight with my wife, man. And now I'm too busy hitting fake golf balls. So I'm like, dude, everybody has a fight with their wife. Like, go home, like, just talk it out, right? Like, it'll work out, right? And he's like, you don't understand this. And I'm like, dude, the answer is going to stay the same, brother. You got to go home and talk it out. Right? Communication's key, right? And so he's like, you're right. I'm like, all right, cool. All right, hit me up later. Let me know how it goes, right? Or we'll play a game or something. And the next day I get a call to say he took his own life and he was no longer with us. And I'm thinking, man, I was so busy hitting fake fucking golf balls in my yard. I didn't pay attention to language. I didn't really pay attention to what he was saying, feeling. And it's like, that was, they like the thing that breaks, like that broke what I was holding everything in. So all those things I told you before, they all come out. Right? And then I get into pills because I'm trying to numb myself. I'm trying to be him, live his life and my life, because I don't want to acknowledge that he's gone. They say pain, like emotional pain, is the shattering of one's reality. Right? My reality shattered. Now, struggle, why they say it's an emotional choice, is because struggle is refusing to reshape a new reality. So they say, this isn't my creation, just so you know. Like, I don't want anyone to be like, oh, I heard that in a book. And I'm like, dude, I didn't say I said it.
I'm totally quoting this now. I'm putting it on your picture, posting it on all of my social
Michael Fabber said,
yeah.
I was like, right? I'm trying not to Jay Shetty this thing, right? I don't want to take anyone else's quotes. But, and what happened was I refused to reshape reality, right? I refused to shape a new reality about what happened and what was exposed. So I always thought I was like a best friend, a man's man. And what I learned that moment was I wasn't. And so I go into pills, booze, numbing, trying to live multiple lives. I'm just a mess. All right. I'm holding it together for a little while, but then I end up on the beach in Lewis with a gun in my mouth. And I'm going to end it. It's over. All right. Like, I can't do it anymore. And a picture of my daughter falls out of my pocket. Now, the crazy thing is, like, that picture was supposed to be in my wallet. So I don't know how that ended up in my pocket. But it's the second time my daughter saved my life. And I always think, like, before my daughter really understood, and I don't think she still understands the value in which she holds, right? The impact in which she had in life, is that she saved my life twice before that. And it's crazy. I sit there and I still get emotional about it because we're supposed to do that for our kids, right? But they don't know they do it for us, right? So it was like, man, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, and then I just bust out crying because, my daughter and me, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I don't know how to live, right? So I'm like, I need to go find myself. Right? Like, one of the biggest jokes people say, I need to go find me, right? So I'm like, I need to go find me, and no one can help me or be part of this, right? So I just disappear. I don't take any money, don't take my car or anything. I just grab my book bag and I hitchhike around America for a little while.
No.
So much so that like a missing person report for me, and like people think I'm like gone, like kidnapped or weird stuff. But and I'm just like trying to figure out, I'm trying to find me. All right. So I'm like looking behind every tree, underneath rocks, right? Like, where are you, Michael? Right? Like, Michael searching for Michael. And it takes me to, I met some amazing people, learned some amazing things about cultures and society and like just everything in general, right? Life. And I'm sitting at a place called the Mobile Inn in Alabama, which don't ever go. Right? Maybe they changed it in the last 10 years, but at that time, if it's like what it was, don't go.
Not a 5-star, huh?
No, it's like they take trailers and they like divide them into quarters. And then there's like some weird tubing to go to the bathroom, but like there's no doors on it. So it's like people can be in it and it's a one-thing bathroom.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
It was very interesting. And I'm sitting on like the stoop to go into my quarter. And I started thinking about my life, right? Like, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? Right? And I started thinking about, I was a villain, right? But the villain, I created him because that's what I thought I needed to get through that time, right? And then that business person, the damsel in distress, I created him because I thought that's what I needed, right? So it was like, oh shit, I get to create this. Like, I get to create me, what life I want, what person I want to be, how I want to impact people, how I want to help people, right? Like, what legacy I'm going to have. At that point, my legacy was a bank account in trouble. I've lost a lot of people, as you heard, right? You only heard some of them. I'm sure you've lost people. Do you know what their bank account was at the end? Nope, not a single person. I'm like, oh my God, I lost all these people. I don't know what their bank account was. And I'm sitting here going, my bank account's going to be my legacy. I'm like, that means I have no legacy, right? So it's like, oh shit. And this question was asked to me when I was a basketball player, right? And they said, whose life was made better because of you? And at that point, I thought about that question. I go, not a single person.
That's a good question.
I made it right. finally, Jesus, I thought this never was going to happen. 29 minutes in, shit.
I know, right? I was thinking it wasn't either.
All right, slacker. Fuck. We haven't got to the good stuff yet. So it was like, who breathed easier because of you? Whose life was better because of you? And that was a moment when I decided, like, everything I do from now on is going to be for people's life to be better because of me, to breathe easier because of me. Because I had like 30 years to make up for. And that means I had to start because I don't know how long I got. So I got to do that shit every day, more times a day, right? And that's where first CMF came from. And that was Coach Mike Fabber. And a couple of years ago, I remember I was like, I don't want anything named after me. This is not about me. I have to remember that nothing's about me anymore. And it has to be about every single one. Anyone that wants to join the movement, anyone that wants to be part of this cause or this mission, they have to be able to recognize it and see their face on it and own that thing. And we have to make it something that they can own. That's our job. So it became Unleashu Now. And that's kind of what led us to this point. Long ass story for it, but it's a story nonetheless.
No, I'm glad you told it. And it makes, it just makes a lot of things come together for me. Especially, I had read about you, the suicide prevention is a big, a big drive for you. And so I figured there was something personal there for you. But not only did you lose family and friends to suicide, but you yourself struggled with the same, the same thing. So
I think the universe will knock on your door, right? I think first, like universe, God, whatever you want to call it, will whisper to you. You're like, psst, hey, right? And if you don't pay attention, it gets louder, 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 until it's punching you upside the face. What happened was I didn't listen. So life was punching me, saying, listen, like at some point, you got to get this, or you're going to lose the battle that you're meant to be here for. And so it took a couple suicides and some self-injurious behavior from myself and other people I know. I lost multiple people from drug use, from other self-injurious behavior. So it's we are not meant, we are here for more than harming ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you let go of any guilt that you may have had at one time for feeling like you could have prevented some of these things from happening to other people, or you shouldn't have, like people love to blame themselves and then they struggle with moving on in life from it because they just are laden with it. What's your explanation for that? How do you move on from that?
Good fucking question. That might be the best question I ever received on any podcast.
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Really?
Yes, really. And God, you might be good. Right. So I thought you would like that one. No. So my biggest hurdle, especially in the last like 10 years since all this has been in process, has been exactly what you just talked about. Like literally 2 years ago, I'm at this like retreat training thing. And they're like, they call it gremlin, right? Talk about your biggest gremlin. And my biggest gremlin was, why the fuck am I still here? And all the people, and a lot of people that I care and love weren't. Like, why should I have this life? Like, I literally love what I do now. Like, it's New Year's Eve, and we're sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
Right? So clearly, we both love what we do. Right? Because everybody else, there's a lot of people, not everybody, there's a lot of people relaxing. I don't like blanket statements. They're always a lie. So it's like there's a lot of people relaxing. There's a lot of people getting ready for tonight. There's a lot of people taking it easy. There's a lot of people spending time with their family, right? And we're sitting here doing this. I'm at the office doing this, right? And it's because I freaking love this, right? Like it's my soul. This is my blood, right? And it was like, why did I get to live this and other people didn't? Right? And that was my hardest thing. So it was always this like, I would destroy my progress. I would build up this business, destroy it. Build up this investment, destroy it. And, build up this movement, destroy it. And it was the hardest thing for me to get through. And it's all about reframing, right? A lot of life, you have to reframe. And the hardest things I've been through, my hardest moments, the things that literally broke me, knocked me down to my knees. I don't like to say anyone's broken, but knocked me down to my knees, right? Made me cry, made me beg for it to end to the point where I was going to do it. Like, fuck it, it's over. Led to the greatest things in my life. And I was going to die because I didn't want to be away from my people. I wanted to be with them. I wanted to be able to say, like, listen, I care. I love you. I'm here. Right? I was a man's man. I have a tattoo. It's over my shoulder. Well, I have multiple tattoos, but I have a tattoo over my shoulder here. And it's a cross with all the people's names I lost, right? Or their initials. And why it's the warrior tattoo, and it's warrior's death when you're on the battlefield and you put your head down, they stab you there to your back shoulder to your front, right? And it kills you, right? But it's the warrior's death. And they protect that spot because I'm fighting for them. And I have to say that they all died. And yeah, there's always things we can look back for and say we should have did differently and could have did differently. But there's also, I'm living for them. They're experiencing everything I'm experiencing, right? This life I'm living, they're living, right? Like I speak their name every day, right? Macklemore brought up an Indian proverb that I fucking love, right? Where it's just like, we die twice. The last breath, the last time someone mentions your name. As long as I have breath, they don't die twice, right? So, and in my books I wrote, I mention them every time. Every presentation I give, videos I give, do, everything I do, I try to mention them. And it's because they're living in this. So as much as I didn't get to save them the way I wanted to or hoped to, I do get to keep them living. And so it's not, they don't get to do this. It's, I have to do this so they can do this. And that's what got rid of some of the guilt.
That's awesome. I feel like from listening to you that your healing came when you decided to take the focus off of yourself and put it on other people. And that's got to be something that is so powerful and impacting for other people to realize. Like when you're in misery, no matter what, even if the misery has come because you are a victim of circumstance, because you are a victim of abuse, because you are a victim of whatever, you know, when you can take focus off yourself and start putting focus on other people, how can I use what I've been through to help other people? There's healing in that. And it's like when you made that shift, it was like you began to find your purpose, you know, and your why. And it gave you a reason for living. So that's
right.
incredible.
I think one of the things too, it's like all too often we look at like even like learning or, you know, growing, right? Healing is like, I think healing is the basis for all growth, right? Because before we can build anything on any structure, that structure has to be sound, right? So we have to heal, and then so we can build on. And when everything was about me, it was bad, right? Like when everything was, when I was focused on me, it was bad. Now focus on our community, right? Like we call it the Unleashed family. Focus on that. Everything I do, like even things that you can look at as like self-centered, self-interest, isn't used for selfish, right? That's why I think self-care is being like tormented in this way where it's like almost being selfish, right? And we have to know, like when I go to trainings, right? I go to learn more, to grow more, to be able to serve more. Right? It's what got me over the charging syndrome, right? Like I wouldn't charge people. You know, it's like, no, I don't want to charge anybody for anything. And it was, well, if you charge, you can reach more, right? Because, and I'm a firm believer in the greater the impact, the greater the income, right? Whatever we put in the universe comes back to us in a certain way, right? Not necessarily the way we put it out there, but it comes back to us. So if we do more for others, more will come back. And then what we do with that, we can do more for others. And when understanding that and really starting to believe that and think that and practice that, that's when everything on the outside changed for people. And your legacy isn't about what you did for you. Hopefully not, because that'd be a shitty legacy.
When did you realize that you wanted to be a coach, that like life coaching or coaching people?
I'm so happy you did this.
Hey, I'm a life and health coach too, certified even, which doesn't mean a whole lot.
Nice. Hey, I'm certified. Listen, I appreciate that you're certified.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not going to knock certification for that and this is why, because you're playing with people's lives.
Mm.
So that you were willing and wanted to go learn more to be able to execute better when you're dealing with people's lives, I do not knock that, because a lot of people in the coaching space are like, fuck it, I'm a coach. And it's like, what? Like there's no like standard or structure for this coaching world. And we don't understand that we're messing with people's lives. All right. So the coach name for me actually came because I was a basketball coach for a long time, like 15 years.
Okay.
So I'm in the coaching space. I'm more of a strategist than a coach, per se. But I am in that space, and that space scares the hell out of me. And a lot of people in the coaching space don't like me because I'm very clear in the space. And why is that? Is because If we don't call bullshit, we're accepting it in our space, and that lowers our space. So there's so many people that don't know a lot about coaching world, right? That realm, that space. And the more BS we allow in it, and if that's what they encounter first, they judge the space by it. And there's some amazing people in the coaching world. Listen, I weirdly researched you. Not weird. When I was about to say it, I was like, well, this is creepy. But I was coming on your show. We met through a third party of someone we knew through a mutual contact. And I was like, yo, let me know, like, I want to know more about this person that I'm about to go speak to and talk about my life and everything. And they can edit this up, chop it up, make me sound like a crazy person more than I already am. And it's like,
that's my
it's
plan.
hard, I know.
I'm going to make it look even crazier.
You're going to take the beginning recording when I'm like, and then put that near the end.
Yes.
All right. You're going to Photoshop a cat on my arm because that's what every villain has. Right. So
you're giving me some great ideas. Let me jot these down.
I'm a strategist. No.
Photoshop, cat. Anyway.
All right. Every evil person has one.
Yeah.
But researching you and seeing what you were about, I was like, all right, cool. Right. Like, my opinion, you're one of the good ones. Right. So I was like, all right, this would be a better conversation than if I was like, oh, here we go with some bullshit. All right. So in this space, right, like, it's so shaky what people do, how people do it. It's very like, ugh, right? So like, even though I have a mental health background and studies, I still took like 17 certifications in the coaching world, right? Just because I don't care about the paper that says I'm certified. That doesn't mean it. But I want the tools, I want the tactics, I want the strategies, right? Like, I want the information, right? Because the more I know and the more I understand, the more I can master, the more I can help, right? The more I can impact, and the more I can give other people tools to then change their life. And that's what it's all about. And what got me in that was I got out of the mental health space per se, because everything was med and everything was stuck in the past. And I was like, we're never moving towards future. We're always here. And it's like, is this really what life's about? Right? So I left. I told the state to go after themselves, and but I did it in a letter form. So they always had proof. It was great thinking, Michael.
More professional that way. So
thank you. It was the first time in my life someone said I was more professional. So I'll take it. But and I jumped in the coaching world because I wanted to focus on the things we all went through, right? Every single one of us went through traumatic situations, went through trauma, went through life-shattering shit, right? Went through pain. Now, everything's different levels, but all that level shit is perspective, right? It's like, my loss is worse than your loss, right? Like, the fuck, right? But we don't know, you don't know that, and I don't know that because I didn't experience yours. You didn't experience mine. The way I was, the way I felt, the way I thought going through what I went through. Just like I didn't do that for you, right? So that's your fucking power, right? Like, that's your superpower, because you're the only one that's been through your shit the way you've been through it, thinking what you've been thinking, having the exact situation the way it was. You're the only one, right? So if that's our power, how can we take that power and use it for us, not against us? Because for so long we use it against us. So how can we make that for us? And I wanted people to have better lives. So that's what got me into the coaching world, because I wanted people to have better lives, and I had some tools and tactics and ways about that I did it for myself, and that I worked with other friends and people I knew and cared about that came to me for it. So I was like, hey, let's get this out there and help people. Or we want to impact 1 billion people. I can't do that just one-on-one or just hiding in my closet.
Yeah. And with your story and with what you've been through, like, you are able to help people in a unique way. And of course, you wrote a book called Your Story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that because, for a long time myself, I've got a shady past. I made a lot of mistakes. I wrecked my life 12 years ago and lost everything and everyone close to me. And for the most part, and I was ashamed of that story for so long because it made me look pretty bad. And even though I was on this journey of restoration and this journey of like redemption and like getting back up to the top, I still was so ashamed of the past. And I was always hoping no one would find out. And I definitely wasn't going to talk about it. And then it hit me, like the last couple of years, maybe the last year and a half, it was like, my story is what, like you said, gives me power. It's what's so powerful about helping people and giving them hope, because then they can see, You know, if people just see you and me and they just see what we're doing and they just think that we're these high achieving people that are just, we love everyone and we're just trying to help the world. And that's all they know about us, but they don't know that we were complete disasters. You know, like I think that transparency helps people realize like, okay, I can maybe do this. You know, I can climb out of this hole because other people have done it. Don't you think that's probably true? You
Oh,
know,
100%.
yeah.
Listen, no one loves the picture of standing on top of the mountain if we didn't understand the climb of the mountain,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And it's like the Instagram lifestyle sucks. All right. Like everybody's like, oh, Mike, you're an entrepreneur. We have like, you know, 10 businesses, right? They're like, oh my God, like, do you ever leave the beach? I'm like, bro, I don't even like the beach, right? Like first, like sand gets all in me. Like, I don't like it. Like, it's like weird. Like I'm very white. So the sun doesn't love me. Right. So it's like, people are like trying to put SPF 4000 on me. Right. And that's just paste. Right. I have a tent over me on the beach. I'm like, this isn't fun. But, so it's like, no, that's not the lifestyle. So, I love that you said that the realest parts of you needs to be seen because that's what people are experiencing and they need to know they can get out of that. Right? Like what you were feeling a couple of years ago, people need to know there's an out. What you were feeling 4 years ago, people need to know there's an out. Right? So it's like, yes, you can screw up your life. You can go in and out of court, right? Like you can go in and out of jail. You can go in and out of juvie. You can lose a whole bunch of money. Like you can lose people close to you. You can go through hella pain. You could be a druggie. You could be suicidal and you still make the life of your dreams. Period, bar none. Right? Because I'm not special. Right? Like that's why I was telling you, like, I'm not special. Like if anyone can, everyone can. If one can, anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Like yeah, anyone can do this.
I believe that too. I always say no one's unredeemable. Anybody can come back from anything, you know, and I don't have a college education. Nobody trained me on being a business person. Nobody trained me on growing businesses. Nobody's trained me on any of this stuff. It's literally just what's inside of you. If you want it, I go back to when you said, I realized I had created these personas in my life. I had created the villain. I had created the damsel in distress. So now I can create this next chapter of who do I want to become. And I believe that. I believe it's within people's power to do that. I'm sure like you, like me, you see people in your circle, your friends, your family, your life, or maybe clients who just are stuck though. They're stuck with self-limiting doubts, you know, self-limiting beliefs about themselves, self-hatred. Maybe they're just clinging to the past and how they've been hurt. They can't get past it, and they live in depression. Of course, mental illness is going to take a factor in this. How do you help someone like that come out of that? Just so you can tell them all day long, you got to just get, you know, and you take the grit and do it, and you got to, and it's like, okay, you can tell them that, but how do you help those people? Did you like that?
Yeah, I was like, I think she just made fun of me. No, I was like, dang.
I was not impersonating you.
No, I'm kidding. It was a great impersonation of me. No,
I should have done this. I would have been doing this.
Right. I do this a lot. This is my thinking.
You're grooming
like a cat. As a man thinketh.
Yes.
So that's a great question. And that's hard, right? Because we want to help, especially those people that we say family, friends, people close to us. We want to help them the most, right? And the thing is, like, we can always show tools, resources, right? Avenues, ways, paths. But a person has to take the path. Now, you can use things like NLP, right? Like neuro, right? Like, I don't know. I'm going to get real Narnia talk, right? Like I always say Narnia is like, so when you find something cool, right? Like when I found personal growth, I was like, well, first when I found it, I hid that I liked it because I was like, this is so not cool, right? And so all my boys were like, this is amazing. I was like, this is stupid, right? And I get to like my room and I just start crying. I'm like, this was so good. It was so powerful. I'm not bad, right? Like, so, all right. So then I became like this. I say we're all addicts, right? Like I hate that term. Like some people are addicts. I'm like, no, we're all addicts. This is what we're an addict of, right? Like there's people that are like, man, I go to the gym 3 days. I'm like, you're a fucking addict, right? Like you're not now. You might be an addict, something that serves you, but you're an addict, right? Like there's people that are like, no, I need to meditate 3 times. I'm like, all right, cool. You're like, you're an addict to the feeling of what meditation gets you. You're an addict to what the gym gets you, right? Like, and that's not. It's like we look at addiction like a bad thing. Addiction is a bad thing when it's something that does not serve you what you care about the people around you or your life.
Yeah.
Right. That's when an addiction is a negative. Addiction can be positive. My addiction to personal growth was hella positive for me. So it's like we can do things with neuroscience. And then when you find something, right, you get like real nerdy about it. Like when you found health, you were like, oh my God, let me tell you about like ketones and like all those. And you're like, the fuck? Right. Like, so people that aren't on that
It's like a
journey.
CrossFitter. You know, people.
Oh my God.
CrossFitter, my God. Like
Yeah, I was in CrossFit for a little while. It's
me too.
ridiculous.
The cult and like every workout is posted and how we suffered and, you know.
First rule of CrossFit: tell everybody you did CrossFit.
Tell everyone you did CrossFit. That's right.
No, but it's so true. It's like, so it's like you find something and then you like dive into it because you love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, so when you dive into it, I call that your Narnia.
Okay.
Right. It's because you're going to learn some crazy shit that people on the outside is going to be like, no, and you're going to be like, no, come on. First, I got to get you into my closet. Then I can show you this whole new world. Right. So it's like, so now I got to always remember, go back to the closet, right? Go back to when you first opened that doorway for somebody, because that's what it felt like for me. And that's what I have to have other people feel like for them to be able to go further in this journey. Right. So I can't talk all my like Narnia talk because people will be like, oh, what is he talking about? Right. And I'm like your RAS, like, what is your RAS? Right. And so I got to go back to that feeling like, hey, there was a day where I suffered because I didn't think I was worth being here. And then I went to this 1-day conference. Oh my God. Like, just, did you ever hear a song or listen to a YouTube video or something and you just felt like the fucker was speaking to you? Right. I'm like, right. That feeling, that's what I got at this event. Well, now you know that feeling. So we connected, so you'll follow me. Right. So now, as long as I can connect with you on an emotional level, right, because 70% of what we do is emotional. If I can connect with you at that emotional level, then I can take you to the next step with me. Mm-hmm. So it's, what do you do with those people that are looking, that you want to help, that aren't seeing it? I got to figure out what serves their emotional connection and how can I connect to that, and then walk them. Because one of the biggest things is like, people say like, oh, if they don't want to change, they won't, like, they don't want to see it, they won't see it. And I'm like, yeah, to a degree, right? There's a degree of truth to that. Now they'll see it. They can choose to ignore it, right? But you can make people see things, right? Now I just can't make them acknowledge it and go further with it. Right. I got one of my long ass hairs in my eye. I'm trying to do like real tough guy stuff about not moving forward. I'm like, so
go and take care of that. Whatever you got to do.
Right? Okay.
There you go.
No, right. But it's how can we connect with them at the emotional level in which they are, that they're willing to understand, willing to accept, and then show them pathways to get past through that, regardless, not the pattern in which they have been. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's people like my daughter who, like, she has less rights. Sorry, but with her, for her programming, right. I can, because she's a woman, because she's my daughter, she's a kid still, so she's not 18, so she has less rights.
Exactly.
So I can help break her patterns because of my position in her life. Mm-hmm. Right? Because we all have habits or patterns. Right? And how do we change our life? Is we change our habits, which is changing our patterns. Mm-hmm. Right? You're in health. So I feel stressed out because my day out, I have overwhelm. Oh my God, I'm just going to eat this dessert. Right? I'm not going to have a slice of pie. I'm going to eat the fucking pie. Right? And I do barbaric, you see this beer, like I do barbaric shit. Like I'm just eating with my hand. Right? So it's like, how can we make it where, I finally got that hair. Phew, I was just like, yo, they're going to be like, this dude's crazier than I thought. He's about to lose his mind on air.
He's twitching. He's still on drugs.
Right? I can't do that. I'm trying to hang on to as much as I got left there.
Right.
It's migrating. No, but so it's how can we help break those patterns and show that there's patterns that'll serve them better and they'll like the result better. Mm-hmm. And it's delicate and it's hard, especially when people don't want to, or they don't want to see it, or they don't want to acknowledge it, or it hasn't. So I don't know how nerdy you want me to get here. So all of us, I use this, I talk a lot with businesses now because for some reason, business people love to talk to me now, and it drives me crazy, right? But I work with a lot of people. Most of my clients are business owners. Most of the conferences and talks I speak at now are business owners, just because we did some cool things in the business space differently than a lot of people did, so they want to hear why. And one of the things I always talk about is the journey of a person, which is the journey of a customer, right? And it's like, there's steps. The farthest step from where the result that they want that you give, the result you give is here. This step is I'm in the pain or problem, right? This, when they're in it, the most emotional buyers will buy in this phase, right? That also means the most emotional people will change in this phase, right? When they're in the pain or problem. The problem with that is I have to hit them right when they're in it, right? How do you do that? How do you know when they're in it? You either have to hit them so often that you get it right, or you have to like draw a good lotto string, like, I don't know, like pick the right straw, like whatever it is. So that's why our messaging, like you'll make, 40 posts a day on your story, and 30 of them will have the same messaging in different ways. And that's really smart, right? I'm not knocking you for making me check your story out 40,000 times a day. It's really smart because whenever they're in that pain point, you have a chance to hit them. Right? So it's every time your message comes across, if they're feeling that pain or problem the most, that's when they'll resonate and reach out to you. Just like I'm sure some of your clients were like, hey, like I saw this. Can I know more? Can you teach me? Can I learn? Right? Like, what are you talking about? Like, tell me more about what you do. Right? That's because most likely you reach them in a pain or problem point. They were in their thoughts or they were in their feelings about something of that nature at that moment.
Yeah.
Right. The next phase is they're running from, right? They run from the 3 Ps, pain, problems, and past. We were both doing that at points, right? We were running from that. Oh my God, I hope no one finds out. Oh my God, they're like, how can I make this where no one knows what I did? Right? We're running from something. So we're looking over our shoulder, running away like in scary movies. The next phase, right? You were probably at 2 years ago, right? You're running towards something, dreams, desires, and destinations, right? You're running towards where you want. My past does not have to dictate my future. I can do this. I can change it. I can live any life I want. That's going towards something. Right. And then the last one was the result you wanted, which you got, right? Which is here talking to me. No, I'm kidding. But it's like, so along that journey, if I just keep using the messaging of someone running towards their dreams, aren't you tired of feeling stress? That's someone running towards their dreams, right? I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to this. I want to feel happiness or successful or accomplished, whatever it is. That's the desire phase. If I'm only speaking to them, I'm missing all this. I'm missing all my people that I can help that are going through these things. Right? So it's understanding that for some of the most stubborn people like myself, I was one of the most stubborn people. This didn't hit me until I was in the biggest pain and problem points of my life. When did I change and became a businessman? I got shot at and found out I was having a daughter. I was in the biggest pain point. When did I change and went from someone that was trying to help others and care for others and someone was trying to help themselves and serve themselves? When I was in the biggest pain or problem point, right? It's so, and you could probably look back in your life and be like, oh shit, like some of the times I pivoted or changed my pattern, I was in some of the biggest pain or problem points of my life.
Yeah.
Right. And because that's how we work as human beings. And that's when things really resonate with us. So what's happening is either they're not having big enough pain or problem points, or I'm not hitting them when they're in it.
Yeah, that's God. I've actually never heard it put quite that way. Yeah.
Twice today. What's up?
That's pretty original. That's pretty original. But
Jay Shetty is going to say it tomorrow.
It's kind of yeah. It's got me. It's really got me thinking about how, as a coach, how am I reaching people? I think it's constantly being available and being ready for someone when they are at that place, because they're not always at that place. It's kind of like, it's like the algorithms, right? Like I could post, and this is like different. I'm just paralleling them. I could post 30 times a day, but only a certain small percentage of people are going to see those posts. But also when I'm trying to reach people, only a certain percentage of the time are those people actually ready to be reached. So someone who is kind of in that rut of life, it's only when they're really feeling that pain and that maybe that heaviness, or they're at that point, that I could reach them with my messaging. So my messaging can fall on deaf ears much of the time until they're kind of ready for it. So I don't know, that's really interesting. So it's got my brain turning there.
Why does it take 18 times for someone to register something as viewable, right? Like to register something as trustworthy or worthy to be seen? is because a lot of those times it's falling on someone that's not ready to see that path. What you're doing is you're creating path for someone out of whatever they're in towards wherever they want to go. But if they're not ready for that path or care to see it, your path means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what you're doing is you keep showing them this path is open when you're ready. This path is open when you're ready. This path is open when you're ready. And I'll guide you. All right. Because all we are is guides, right? Like Donald Miller got that right. We're guides. That's why when people say, what do you do? I say, I'm the ultimate guide, right? Like from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. That's what I do. All right. Like, and I've done it with people that wanted to write best-selling books. I've done it with people that wanted 6, 7, 8-figure businesses because it was a business for purpose, right? Which I love. So I'm like, I'm in. Right? They're the only people I work with, heart-centered, impact-driven. All right, let's go. So it's like, I've done it with people that want to change their lives. I did it with people that were drug addicts that didn't want to stop drugs. It's not, I'm not the guy that's like niches get riches, and I'm the kind of guy where niches get stitches, right? Because I just want to hit people. Because the first guy I ever talked to that was in this industry when I first got in was like, Mike, you have that Italian heritage. I love that. You should work with 35-year-old Italian restaurant managers about how to create life and work balance. I'm like, what?
Oh,
Like, I
gosh.
don't want to do that, right? Like, I was like, so then for like 6 months, I'm like, no, I got to find it. It was Italian, but he's 37. I can't help him. I have to find 35-year-olds, right? Like, it was like, this is stupid as shit. So it's like, when people talk about niches, right? I'm like, as long as you know, like, what problem, I don't know, it's like, we're going to get into like real weird talk, but what problem do you solve or issue do you fix, right? There's two different things, right? The uncloggable toilet, you solve the problem. I never have to unclog that shit, right? Literally and figuratively. But the second thing is the fix an issue, right? And I fix something, the plunger fixes something. Here's the deal. It's going to cost you less money, but it's going to take you more time, and it's going to take you more often, right? Because it's going to clog. I can fix it, but it's going to clog again, right? And there's a difference between solving something and fixing something. You can do both. You can do multiple of any, right? But you got to do one or the other, or your business isn't going to last long. It's called a gimmick, right? But that's the logical feature, which is only like 25 to 20% of purchases and of people's reason, right? So what happens often is we're emotional and we'll be like, we want that. And then after that, we're like, for this. And we try to figure out the logical reason, right? Like, I got a leather coat. Why do you get a leather coat? Well, I mean, if I'm at a bonfire in the fall, it's like, how many bonfires do you go to in the fall? I'm like, you never know when I'll get into bonfires, okay?
That's
right?
true.
Like, it's like, yeah. So it's trying to make it logical. It's like, why do we say like, it's like, explain love to me, right? Like, explain your partner to me, right? Like, why he's it. Oh, he gets me at certain level. He accepted me. Like, other people will accept you. Other people can get you at that level, right? That's all us trying to make something that is not logical, so we don't feel like we're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Love is something we can't truly explain, right? It's just this thing, right? Like, I feel like an idiot when I try to explain it. I'm like, well, they're really cool, and like, I'm not so cool, but they make me feel cool, right? Like, it's like, the fuck are you talking about, right? Like, so it's understanding that most of the time we're going to do things from feeling, and then we try not to be lunatics, so we try to make it appropriate by explaining it in some weird logical way that we think makes sense, right? So we know we have to go towards the feeling part of it often and as early and as regular as we can. And then after, so what I would say is like, have this map. 70% of what you put out should be emotional feeling, emotional touching, hitting their emotional side. 25% should be like logical, make it logical for them, right? And then you have like 5 to 10% where it's informational, right? Because you're one person, there's only so many clients you can handle, right? There's only so many people you can touch, right? So listen, I have one spot open for my coaching program. This is the spot. If you're interested in all the things we talked about, this is for you. Reach out and talk to me. All right, that's an informational post or contact. And most people will, most people say scarcity. I don't like that term, because to me, I feel like if you're saying do a scarcity post, I'm like, that's a tactic. And I don't want to prey on people's tactic of making them feel like they'll miss something. I like informational things. If it's true, it's true, right? Like, we have retreats, mastermind retreats, in-person ones, but with COVID, 24 or less people, right? Because we have to maintain and make sure everybody can stay healthy, and we care about people. We don't want to be like, fuck what they say, everybody load in, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not a doctor, I have no idea like how bad what is, how bad it isn't, like,
Sure.
and I don't want anyone to die because I was like, I'm ignorant as shit, right? So it's like, we're just not going to do that. So when I say, hey, there's 2 spots left in this retreat, I'm not scarcely trying to scare you into it. I'm telling you, it's informational. There's 2 spots left. So if you're thinking about it,
Right.
reach out, right? Because I don't want you to miss because you were just sitting there like, no. Right? So those are the 3 ways you try to attract your people. But what happens is all too often we try to use logic too much. And we have to understand that we're not logical beings, right? Like this thing's been programmed for thousands of years, but this isn't us, right? Like this is us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You know, those are really interesting and great ways for me as a coach on how to reach people. I'm curious what you would tell people that have someone in their life. Okay, here's a good way for me to put it. What would have helped you during your difficult years? Would there have been anything that would have helped you if one person, a person in your life would have come to you and said or done this for you? Or maybe you had that. Were you missing that? Do you look back now and think if just somebody would have believed in me, said this, done this, would that have helped you at that time?
Right. That's a great question. What happened was with me, at least, because that's the only story I can speak from. Like my mom's like the greatest motherfucker alive, right? Like no offense to
I was
anybody.
wondering about her. I wanted to ask you about her because God, she experienced extreme loss
Oh my
and
goodness.
raising you, which sounds like a freaking
Hell.
yeah. So I'm like, God bless this woman because she sounds like she's been through it.
Right.
Yeah. Tell me about her and tell me, yeah. And then the
My
question.
mom is the strongest ever. Like she's the toughest person that ever walked earth. I swear to God. Like to deal with first, I'm the youngest of 6, right? And I had 3 older brothers that were hell raisins. And then I was the worst. My dad used to say he should have named me Unkwa because if I was the first one, I would have been the only one. Right. And it was because I was such a pain in the ass because I saw what others did. And I was like, oh, we could do all this. And it was like, you're an idiot. And so I took the worst of the 5 and combined it and made 1 for the 6th. So it's like my mom, like, I can't say enough amazing things about my mom. I'll never say anything bad about my mom. She's amazing. I mean, and you know, I sit here and it's funny. I played the victim for so fucking long, right? And no longer did she go through all that loss. My mom beat cancer like 3 times, right? She was like, her life is crazy. She grew up mob, right? Like she was there when her uncle got shot like 15 times, right? Like their houses were like robbed and then her people would call people and their stuff would be returned. It was so weird. Like reality for them was so different than reality for so many people. Like my mom started like Chinese restaurants and her family went and stole like hundreds of thousands of dollars from her. Like one of her sons stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from her. Like it was like, it's just when you think about someone's life, it's just like, what the fuck? And my mom's still so freaking nice and kind and caring and worries about people. She's still like, I make fun of her all the time because I'm like Mr. Not Educated and she's like miseducated, right? She has like 2 doctorates, like multiple masters, right? Like it's fucking crazy how much time she did. Like, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I'm always like, that's stupid. She's like, you know what sounds stupid when you tell someone that's stupid that they have a lot of education, right? I'm like, not in my world, it doesn't. And so, but and
Yeah,
all she wants,
times
like,
have changed a little bit about that, but yeah.
thank you, right?
It's still impressive. I mean, I still really respect her, you know.
I respect her, not for the paper. Now she knows so much. She's so damn smart. Like I was so like, life wasn't fair, right? Like first, I've been treated a lot of ways. Fairly isn't one, and fair doesn't exist. Fair is a perspective. Right. So the question I always ask, is it worth it? Right. Like being in a relationship is tough. Right. Being a parent is tough. Right. But it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's fucking worth it. Right. Like to me, the greatest sensation I can ever hear is I love you, Daddy. Right. Like that's the greatest thing I ever hear.
That's awesome.
Right? Like literally, I don't care how bad a day I'm having. When my daughter says that, everything goes away. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Right. And so all the shit of being a parent, I'll deal with because it's also the greatest thing, right? And it's understanding how that works, right? And how that serves you. So it's not is it fair or not, because that's not real. Is it worth it? If it's worth it to you, do it. If it's not worth it, don't do it, right? And that's easy. And it's one of the things I remember my mom, we had a conversation with my mom a couple of years ago when where people could tell or at least my mom could tell I turned the tide and I wasn't going to fuck up like I did. Right. So it was like, she finally believed it. She was like, all right, 7 years, we got you. Right. Like, so it was this moment and we were talking about all the shit, right? Like, I think her baby boy, the last born, was deaf. Right. And it's like, so how was she going to communicate with her kid? And how was her other kids going to communicate with their brother? Right. Like, it was like the things she went through, bearing a son, bearing her love of her life, young, right? Like, it's like the things she went through. And I sat there and I was just like, Mom, like your life has been so unfair. Right. Like, I never can believe I played the victim to you. Right. Like, I'm so sorry. Right. And I was just sitting at the table. I'm like, what made you, like, what keeps you going? Like, my mom still like volunteers like hours a day to see people that are dealing with mental health issues. Right. And she's like in her 70s. She started a gala, which is like equine assisted therapy, where they use horses with people to like PTSD with soldiers coming back and people that went through traumatic events. And she does that most of the time for nothing, right? Just to do it because she cares about people and loves people. And I'm like, what made you still be this person? And she looked at me and she said, because it was all worth it. Like, yeah, that was painful, but it was worth it. Like, I had 20 years with your brother. Yes, it was fucking painful, but I had 20 years with him. It was worth it. Right? Like, I had, a couple decades with your father. Right? And man, I couldn't believe, my dad was a mountain of a man. He was strong as an ox. This dude like got like a tree went through his head and he needed to get like 40 staples in his head. And he just sat at a table with a rag on it and was like, fix me. My mom, because my mom was a nurse at one point when she was younger. And she was like, I can't fix this. We got to go to the hospital. Right. And like, he got his finger cut off in a tree splitter. Ooh. And to get his finger out, he put pebbles in it while it was stuck in it and took it out and came in and said, sew this back on. My mom sewed his finger on. And it was just, he was such a tough dude. And he like beat the hell out of us. And he's mentally so tougher than us. It was crazy how tough he was. And we always thought something would happen to my mom because of all the health issues she had. And then all of a sudden my dad died out of nowhere. And it was just like, what? And I remember I was the only one at the hospital. My mom and my dad died. And when someone's about to die in the hospital, I know they bring you into a small ass room with a bunch of little couches and tissues everywhere. And that's when you know something bad's about to happen. I didn't know that until it happened. Right? I was just like, why are they moving us to our private room? I was like, we're so fancy. Right? And then you learn, you're like, shit. They didn't want us to freak out if we did in front of people. I get it.
Wow. Oh.
And they tell my mom that her husband's dead. Right? And my mom looks at me and goes, what am I going to tell your sister? I'm like, what?
Worry about somebody else. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, what? And she always said, like, everything was worth it. Like, stop looking for fair. Shit doesn't exist. Find worth it and live your life knowing that you did things that were worth everything that you went through.
So your mom obviously gave you unconditional love through all of your struggles. Yeah.
100%.
It's pretty priceless.
Oh, without a doubt. And it's crazy is that's why you said that. Like, didn't you just need someone to believe in you to support you? I'm like, I always had someone that believed in me to support me. I avoided it, ignored it. Right? So it doesn't matter what's there. It matters what you're willing to accept that's there. And I'll never forget the last time I beat a court case. I was 20 years old. I was facing like 20 some odd years in jail. Right? And I was in court for 2.5 years. And finally, the case was dismissed. And I'm like, yeah, right? Like, and my boys are behind me. They're like, yeah, right? Like, we did it, F you court, right? Like, because it was their fault, not our fault, always, right? And I'll never forget, and like, everybody's hugging me and slapping me, and they're like, yeah, play free, man. I'm like, yeah. And I look over, my mom's crying on the ground. I'm like, Ma, we won. Like, we're good. Like, it's like, hug me. I love you. Like, we're good. She looks at me. She's like, to win. I was like, fuck, right? Like, talking about getting hit. I was just like, damn, right? And it's like, so when you say that, like, that question, even though I went off on kind of crazy tantrums and gave my mom a lot of credit, which, by the way, one of my greatest moments ever was we hosted our own, like, 3-day conference. 2019 was our first, like, 3-day mega conference. And I told everybody before it started, there was only 2 ways I would agree to do it. And one was Trent Shelton, because he's part of saving my life. He's a motivational speaker. Look him up. He's amazing. He's one of the people that really spoke truth into me when I needed it the most. And then that my mom agreed to speak at it.
Wow.
And I got to introduce my mom on the stage for her to speak on opening night. She was the closer, right? And my daughter walked her out on stage. And it was a
awesome.
moment, and in every picture I ever share, and people always think I'm like some weirdo that loves myself, because in every profile picture of mine for every thing is the same. It's like 4 different pictures. And they're always like, Jesus, you need to see yourself 4 times. And I'm like, well, the pictures all mean something to me. It's one is me hugging my mom and daughter when my daughter walked her on stage. And like one's me and one of my best friends, Alex, who believed in me and fought with me when I said I'm going to change my life. We're gonna change the world when we do it. And everybody was like, you're fucking crazy, Mike. And he was like, you're crazy, but let's do it. And like another picture is me coaching the last team I coached. And it's because I love that. Basketball was my first love. And I walked away from basketball to do this. And it was one of the hardest things for me to do, was to give up something that was a huge part of my life for 30 plus years and just be like, but this is where I need to be now. And then the other picture was the first time I got to do a keynote. And I don't know about you, but my lifestyle, people in this industry don't embrace me because of where I've been and what I've done and how I talk and what I say, because I try to be extremely real. And I try to be me. Right? I love when people be extremely yourself. I'm like, just be yourself. Like we don't have to use an adjective in this one. So it was very hard for me to get in the speaking space. And that was the first time I got a keynote. So I was just like, fuck yeah. Right. So, and that's why there was those 4 pictures, and Unleashu Now logos in the middle, because that's the center. And that's why it's like that. It's not because I have some ego trip and I love myself.
I figured that's what it was.
I do that.
Whatever.
I do that too, but I just didn't want to make it in the profile picture. I wanted to get to know me better before you know this about me.
I'm glad you explained that.
You're welcome.
Before we close this interview, tell me, I'm just personally curious about Unleash. Is it Unleashu Now? Unleashu Now? Yeah. So what's the structure of that? What does that look like? So you guys go and you do masterminds, you do speaking events, people hire you for coaching and for helping and things. Just tell me a little bit about that and how people can find you, and how maybe, if they feel like you could be a help to them, what should they do?
All right. So I'm gonna answer that, and I'm gonna finish the answer, which I never answered before, from a question before.
Okay, sure.
I just remembered it. I was like, oh, that was a dope question. I never answered. So Unleashu Now, we do, it's like a one-stop shop, right? We do a little bit of everything. We have courses, programs, memberships, masterminds, retreats, conferences. We have international conferences and national conferences. We have conferences in Colombia, Mexico, Bermuda, Aruba, right? Like, clearly I like to go places that are warm, even though I don't like the beach or the sun. Makes total sense. But so through those different things and our community, the best thing about us is our community. Like our community, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, our community is really strong on Facebook. Our community, like, they're better than me. Right? Like, I'm not worthy of the community Unleashu Now has. Right? Like, it's amazing. I don't know if there's a day that goes by where I'm not just like, holy shit, like, how the hell did this become this? Right? Like, man, they're gonna find out I'm a fraud, right? Like, it's like, I'm not worthy of this shit. Like, these people are cool as hell, and they're like, Mike, yeah. And I'll never tell you, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was when Unleashu Now first became a thing. Right? I was so diehard about the mission. I still am, about the mission of Unleashu Now. And I walked out on stage, my first speaking gig after we changed it. And what we call ourselves, the people that are a part of Unleashu Now, is we're the Unleashed, right? Like, we're ready to go. And I came out on the stage and they introduced me, and the first thing I did was make the sound of the Unleashed. And I'm the only one that made a sound. No one in the audience made a sound. And I figured out that day, I was just like, well, that was awkward. And I was like, from now on, everybody's like, yeah, you're not going to do that again, are you? I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to stage people in the audience to do it too. So then other people start doing it. So I'm not the only one. They're like, that's what you learned? I'm like, yeah. Right. But so yeah, we do it well. We do transformational events. Our events are very intimate. We get close quick, right? Like, it's funny. We had one in November. Our next one's in February, but we had one in November, and everybody left there and they're like, this is crazy. Like, no one knew each other coming in. Everybody left like their fucking family. Like wow. They're like, Merry Christmas. Are you coming over for Christmas? Like, they live in like different parts of the world. And they're like, what holiday, or when are we getting together for holidays? I'm like, the fuck? Like, you didn't even ask me if I wanted to go. Like, no, but it's crazy how that happens. But it's just, we have a really unique way of, and it's not necessarily, it's not me, there's better people involved than me, of just making it like such a deep connection.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, connection is a cornerstone for human existence. So everything I do is I'm trying to build connection with people and have people build connection with each other. And that's what the strength of the community is, and the strength of their connection, the level of it. And so everything we do is to build connection, because how do we end suicide? We form deeper connections.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 3 steps for suicide: feel isolated, isolation, right? Feel like I'm completely alone, a burden, feel like I'm bringing down the people I love and care about the most, their ability to harm yourself beyond repair, right? Which goes against all our programming. So if I could take away these first 2, I never have to worry about this last one. So I don't want you to ever feel like a burden. You're never a burden to me, and you're never isolated. We're in this fucking together. We're going to rock this shit. Let's go. All right. And you said one thing that you wish you had, or someone gave you or spoke to you. And I would say courage. That's what I wish I had. And that's what we need to have in order to change our life and make our life what we want it to be. We have to have courage to face the shit we went through, to face what we want to go, and to face all the obstacles in the way of us getting there, and be willing to fucking face it. Because at the end of the day, if you have the courage to do it, the only thing that can stop you is you. You just got to have the courage. So I wish I had the courage to not be the fucking victim for so long, and to be the one that said, I'm going to own my shit and let's go. Because it takes courage. So I wish that's what I had. It wasn't support. It wasn't people saying they love me. It was, I didn't have the courage to do it for someone that I thought I was such a badass, right? That I was the toughest dude in the block. I'd fight anybody. I lost a whole bunch of teeth because of it, right? I always say I have the teeth of like someone that chewed concrete. Right? Like all these guys are gone, and just have these guys, and these guys are barely hanging on for life, right? And you're sitting here with like pearly white choppers, straight as shit. I'm like, I'm jealous as hell this whole time. I'm like, this woman, fancy teeth. No.
What if I just took them out right now?
That'd be perfect. Hey, listen, you're talking about me in like a year or 2. I said I had to make it till past 40, and then I'll take them out. But I said I need natural till 40. But it's just the courage to
But
really
where would courage come from? You know, like what would you even tell somebody that from deep from inside? Yeah.
Right, like all this stuff, like all this amp up, like before I go on stage, I do some like crazy shit before I go speak. I'm like jumping up and down. I like say some connotations, right? And I literally like, I understand that I am not worthy of the moment that's about to happen. So I say, whatever you believe, universe, God, whatever. I say, God, speak through me to these people. Use me as your messenger, and let me impact them the way I'm meant to and what I'm here for, right? And I do like all kinds of weird shit. And if you didn't know me and you just saw it, you'd be like, yo, this dude's nuts, right? I have a long beard, I like long ass hair. Everybody's in suits. I'm like in a backwards hat and a t-shirt, right? And sweatpants, about to go on stage. Everybody's like, who the fuck, right? And I'm just like, wah! Right? And like everyone's like, okay, right? So it's even doing that, right? Like all this is having the courage to be willing to change what exists for you now, be willing to change what you see now, be willing to change what you believe now, right? And it all comes from inside. And what it is saying, I'm meant for more, right? Like I'm meant to do something in this life. I'm meant to feel more. I'm meant to be connected more, to love more, to be loved more, right? Like break it down to just the natural, most human thing is to love and be loved, right? Like what a life that is, just to love and be loved, right? To have that feeling, to know what that's like, to experience that. And everything that is like that, to love someone takes courage, because you make yourself very vulnerable. You leave yourself open for a lot of hurt, right? And to be loved takes courage, to let someone in, to let someone see those sides of you. You know, for so long, my relationship suffered for so long, right? I was in like broken, absent, bullshit relationships, even marriages, right? I was one. I was like, before you're like, Jesus, bro, no, like this
How
one.
many?
Right? Yeah, like, all right, slacker. No. And it's because it wasn't, for so long, I was like, no, them. And finally I was just like, courage, right? Mike, they never could love all of me because I never let them know all of me. I shaved my edges to fit for them. And when I shaved them, I said, man, they don't understand me. They don't get me. They don't see the whole me. And it's because I didn't let them see the whole me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now it's like something that keeps a lot of people away from me is I come in off the bat and I'm like, this is me. This is all of me. Like you've experienced it, right? Like I come in, I'm like, boom, like this is me. This is how I am. This is what I love. Like this is what I do. I'm passionate about it. Like I'm going to say all kinds of weird shit and crazy shit and funny shit, like dumb stuff. You're going to be like, Jesus, this dude's weird as hell. And it's okay, but I'm going to come in as full me. And you're going to be like, all right, now I know if I want this person around me or if I don't want this person around me. And I'm okay with either, but I'm not okay with trying to be something to get around you and then blame you for not being able to see the whole me. And that's what I did for a lot of my life, was I wouldn't let people see the whole me. And it takes courage to do that, to be completely out there, to be completely seen, for all these scars, for all these stories, right? For all the inner wounds, right? Like one time I was telling my story and some guy kind of made fun of suicide. And my people were like, oh shit, right? Like Mike's about to freak out, right? And I just looked at him and I said, man, I'm glad you had the life that's a joke to you, that's something stupid to you, that's silly to you. I'm glad you had that life. Like, I'm glad you haven't been hit by this part. Like, and like me hitting you would do nothing, all right? But I appreciate you saying this because it made me remember why I have the courage to say what I say. Like, you're not gonna knock me off that path, brother. Sorry. Like, you gotta talk, you can't, to get me riled up anymore, you can't talk about me. Like, I don't care. I talk about me more than anybody. You come at my people, I'll defend my people all day, every day. But me, shit, you can talk all the shit you want.
You know, I think it's liberating when you can just be yourself and you don't feel like you have to be something for someone else. And Anthony Trucks is a coach. He's a former NFL player. I follow him a lot. He's really cool. He's very personable too. He says things like, you know, you're not for everybody. You know, it's one thing I love. You're not for everybody. And he's like, and if you are put yourself out there enough to be hated, then that means you're putting yourself out enough to be loved. But if you can't, you can't have one without the other. Like if you're going to put like for you, it's a risk to come out as you are sometimes because you realize you're going to turn some people off and they're like, that's not, and you're like, that's okay. Cause I'm not for everybody. So I'm either, you know, whatever, you like me or lump me, but this is who I am. And that's liberating. Right. And people need to realize it's freeing to be able to do that. And, you know, to come out without filters and just to be who you are. So,
right.
And
do you really want those people around you?
Exactly. Yeah. In the end, do you really want those people around you is true. So I appreciate that about you. And you came out of the gate immediately with me being you and being real. Our first Instagram conversation was hilarious. And I was like, I'm going to like this guy. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I've really enjoyed this conversation with you today. I'm excited to be connected to you. I'm curious for those listening and even for myself, is Unleashu Now must have a website that people can go to and check it out. Like if they wanted to be a part of the community, what's all involved in doing that?
Oh, so we're like, we have value steps, right? Like, so like any business, any place, any movement. So we have absolutely free things you can be part of and do with us. Mm-hmm. And then we have things up to scale, right? So there's communities on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Clubhouse, where we have like some of the Unleashed communities are in those places. Cool. Instagram is like hashtags and stuff, but I mean, we barely even do those ourselves because I'm lazy and I don't do hashtags. Don't let Tamara, she's part of the Unleashed, hear me say that because she'll kill me, like literally kill me. Every video I do, I have to do like, I do this like first. I just like doing this because I think it's funny. Remember what was it, Justin Timberlake and Fallon skit where they're like hashtag. It was like hashtag, shut the fuck up. All right. So I'm always like, if you're watching this, hashtag, where you at? Hashtag, what you doing? Hashtag replay if you're not seeing it live, right? Like just to make her happy. But Facebook's our biggest place for it. But then also you have unleashunow.com, you have unleashunowretreat.com, you have unleashunowmastermind.com, right? Like there's a million places to find us. But really, if you just look Michael Fabber, right? I'm pretty much Michael Fabber everywhere, or Coach Mike Fabber everywhere. Find me, reach out, send a message. I'll gladly talk to you about anything. I literally post my cell phone number and my email address, my personal email address, and my personal cell phone number public, because I don't care about crazy people messaging me or calling me, but I do want you to know that I mean what I say. You can call me anytime, you can email me anytime. Like, I'm not some fraud, I'm not sitting behind some screen. I don't have people that stay in front of me and read all my messages to see if I should contact them. Like, you're getting to me, you might not like what you're getting, but you're getting to me, and it's gonna be what it is. But I wanna be available for anybody and everybody. So it's out there, it's public, find me, reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
That's awesome. Well, Coach Mike Fabber, thank you for this awesome 90 minutes, man. We killed it. It was awesome and super fun. I relate to you in so many ways. Even though our paths are very different, we are both the comeback kids, and I love, I love showing people that there's hope, always hope, and you can be used. I don't know if I was something that I read of yours, but you said something that I like to say a lot, that the very people that once, oh, I think it was a recent Instagram post I just read of yours, the very people that once doubted you, the very people that once said there's no way you could ever this or you'll ever do that, blah, blah, blah. Those very same people are the ones now that come to us for motivation, inspiration, for help. And that's the same in my life. And I don't say that arrogantly. I say that with so much humbleness, because I can't even believe sometimes that I'm being used in the lives of people. Like, I am so humbled by that, and it's a privilege. So
yeah, you're like way too humble for my liking, but you like you're a beacon of hope, and you allow yourself to be it, and you don't have to be.
yeah.
So it's, when my research has showed me, the data has proven, right? I feel like I was on what is that, Maury Povich talk show? The test results are in.
You
And,
are the beacon of hope.
right? You are the beacon of hope. Like, I love what you stand for, about how you're reaching back for people on the journey that you were on, and saying, like, you can do this. You don't have to do that. You're doing that out of the kindness of your heart, love that you have for people, and that you're willing to accept the mission that was placed here for you. That takes a lot of courage. I know you try to downplay that a lot and just be like, things are speaking through me. But you have to accept that, be willing to do that. And then you dove into it so deep to be able to do it at a better and a higher level. So I wanted to say thank you, one, for having me on, but also thank you for being that for so many people, and being willing to change people's life and speak into people's life to give them the opportunity to do so too.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. That means a lot to me. And you're doing the very same thing. So I just appreciate you and your story and testimony. Thank you so much for being so open and transparent with us today. So the coach,
My
Mike
pleasure.
Fabber, and Unleash You Now. Look him up. The dude is on fire.
Literally.
Literally.